Welcome to Geocache Adventures, the podcast where we explore everything geocaching. I'm your host, Shadow Dragon 1. I love geocaching. If you're listening to this, you probably love it too. If you enjoy the podcast, consider sharing it with somebody that you think would love it. You can also follow the podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and there's a Facebook group as well, so you can join in the fun and share your adventures. There's also a Patreon page that you can join and unlock exclusive content. Hi, everybody. Amy Shadow Dragon 1 here, and with me today is Craig, aka the Aussie Geocacher, aka Seemyshell. Thank you so much for joining me today.
G'day, Amy, and thank you very much for having me on this podcast.
So, one of the first things I like to ask my guests is, how did you get started geocaching?
Oh, wow. Well, if those of you who haven't heard itself, my little backstory, like a lot of people, unfortunately, Amy, whereby, you got upset family situations. My marriage broke down, all of a sudden I was by myself. And I had my kids every second weekend, like, a lot of parents out there do, with a shared custody. And I was struggling, Amy, to find something to do with my kids that was sort of cheap, easy, keeps them occupied. And yeah, a friend of mine sort of, kind of showed me geocaching to a certain degree and said, look, this might be a good thing. And so I went out there straight away. As soon as I heard about it, went out straight away and found my first cache. So I was addicted. And then that weekend, my kids come over and they were addicted too until they grew up and became teenagers and it was too cool for school.
Of course, of course.
Yep, yep.
You have done quite a bit in the world of geocaching, it seems. You've done multiple vlogs,
Mm-hmm.
podcast. How did you get started in all that?
Well, funnily enough, actually, with the vlogging stuff, that started first. And again, it was believe it or not, it was my kids' idea. They were watching people online, like Joshua, the geocaching vlogger, and a few others around at the time. I think it was Geopat 92 was one of the other ones as well. And they were watching a few of them and said, "Dad, can we do this?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." So I started filming them, and that's how the vlog sort of started. They created all my little, what do you call them, idiosyncrasies type thing, whereby like my shout out at the end where I say I'm over and out, all that sort of stuff. They created that. And they did a little dance at the end of every video. They did a little dance, where see my shells over and out. Woo! So that was their thing. And then as I said, when they quit something, I just kept it carrying on. So yeah, it was just became my sort of my thing.
That is so much fun. And I
Mm.
love your little ooh hoo 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 at the end because it reminds me of Tigger, and Tigger's
Oh
my absolute
yes.
favorite.
Well,
It makes
well,
me smile every time.
well. I will say that I have worked for Walt Disney in the past as well, and I may not been let's just say a helper of Tigger. Because we can't say that anyone's in those costumes because they're not costumes. They're actual real characters. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes, that's right. So
That is awesome.
mm,
So the vlogs that you have going on right now,
hmm.
the Aussie in America and
Oh
the
yes.
Aussie geocacher, see my
Yes.
show.
Yeah.
So the geocaching one, is that still just the same continuation of the one you started with your kids, or is that kind of developed sort of a split off of that after it
No, that's a
became just you?
no, that's kind of a continuation. So, in actual fact, my daughter, when she was getting older, and they actually asked for their own geocaching accounts as well. And so I gave them the new geocaching accounts, etc. And she told me then I had to change my geocaching name, Amy. She said you can't call yourself See My Shells anymore because you're by yourself. She was a
Oh,
smart kid. I'm telling you now, she was a very smart kid. So her name was because her name's Rebecca, so Beck. So she became Be My Shell,
oh,
and I
cute.
became See My Shell because my first name's Craig and our last name's Michelle. So See My Shell. That's how my name came about. So that's what happened with that. And then when everything happened for me further on in regards to moving to the States, I thought to myself, I would like to show other people the differences between like other countries and the USA, especially Australia and USA. There's big, big differences. And so I thought I'm not gonna muddle up my current niche of geocaching in that particular region, that particular area. So that's when I started an Aussie in America channel. And that one there is, as I said, it's predominantly the differences. It's also got things like on there in regards to, like how to eat Vegemite, for instance, or how to drink Milo, which is an Australian drink, that sort of thing too. Making fairy bread, Amy, fairy bread. You're like,
Fairy
what?
bread.
What's fairy? Do you know what fairy bread is?
I don't know fairy bread.
Oh, see, fairy bread is a staple amongst kids' parties in Australia. All it is just nice, fresh white bread, and then sliced, of course. And then all you do is put like a nice lather of butter on it, and then turn that upside down onto a plate of sprinkles. Yes, sprinkles. In Australia, we
Ah,
call them hundreds of thousands, and then turn it back up, and all the sprinkles are sort of stuck to the butter, and you cut it, on a diagonal, because you have to have it diagonal. You can't have it, rectangles. It's got to be diagonal, and then you eat that as is, and it is absolutely delicious and divine. There you
I'm gonna be trying that after this.
go.
I can imagine that was a huge shift for you. I mean, moving in general, just across states, can be a big deal for
Mm.
people, but moving entire countries,
Yeah.
that seems like a pretty big undertaking.
It is. But like this weekend just gone, I was down in Alabama for Bamarama, the mega down here in Alabama. I was down there for that too. And I was speaking to a good friend of mine, Tivia, her geocaching name is. And she's in the process of moving stuff as well, but she's moving out of her family home, and sort of, it was a little bit sort of daunting for her and a little bit heartbreak. She can't get rid of different things and whatever. But I end up saying to her, because she asked me, how did I do it? How did I move like everything to the US? And I said to her, I got rid of everything that I didn't actually need. So I came to the US literally, Amy, I came with two boxes, small boxes of things that I could not throw away. Things like some old photos of my grandmother and stuff, things like geo coins, for instance, and par tags. So yeah, they were heavy boxes, so I couldn't get rid of those things, but when it comes to furniture, of course, get rid of the furniture that was in my house. I really went down on my clothing, and I came out here with two suitcases of clothes. So and that's all I had. Two suitcases of clothes and two boxes of just treasured items that I couldn't give away. And I said to her, I said, once you start doing it, and alleviate all that muck in your garage or your basement or your attic, whatever you like to call it, it really is refreshing, Amy. Like it's refreshing for the mind, it's refreshing for the soul. It feels like a big weight is actually lifted off your shoulders, believe it or not. And I know for myself, I got rid of, because I was thinking to myself, I'm going to have to pay someone to get rid of all my furniture, because who wants all this secondhand furniture? It wasn't bad, don't get me wrong, but it's hard to get rid of secondhand furniture these days. And a friend of mine from my work at the time said, her son is moving out for the first time with his girlfriend, and they don't have anything. And I said, tell
Oh,
them come with a trailer and they can pick it up all for free. And you should have seen them. They were so ecstatic. It alleviated my problem, but at the same time, I felt good by helping someone else, and
yeah.
and that felt good. At the same time, all my items were going to be used, not just going to the landfill, so that felt good too. So yeah, I say to people, spring clean is a thing, get into it, get a spring clean done. It doesn't have to be spring to get it done, but just yeah, clean up the mess and clutter out of your house in general, and you will feel much better for it. So trust me,
I
that's all I
agree
did.
with that. Yeah,
That's all
that's
I did.
you did downsizing on a scale most of us cannot imagine doing, though.
Yeah.
That is crazy. I There are so many difference. I mean, just the language. It's
Hmm.
English in both countries, but you have
Yes.
all these differences in it.
Oh yeah.
What has been I mean, from moving from Australia to the
Hmm.
United States, what was kind of like the biggest shift that you had to get used to?
The hardest thing, believe it or not, Amy, out of everything, all my language differences, because we actually spell flavor with a U, color with a U, like the correct way, the original way. We didn't like get rid of all that stuff because we won our own country from the British. No. Um I said that a lot. But what I found the hardest is actually doing orders. Like a McDonald's order or Dunkin' Donuts, and I go through the drive-through. I always do the order on my mobile apps all the time because it's too hard otherwise. And then they say, oh, a name for the order, and my name is Craig, and I say Craig, and apparently I say Craig like no one in the US has heard the name before in their entire lives because not one person hears me say Craig the first time. They always go, "What? Sorry? What?" And so I have to say Krieg, like you guys say Krieg, and they get it. Then they go, "Oh, Krieg." I go, "Yeah, Krieg."
Oh, that's funny. I would not
Yeah.
have thought that.
No, actually, Joshua this weekend, I stayed with, 5 days with him in Bammarama as well. And he says Krieg as well. He saw it happen first time, like not first time, but first hand. And he said to me, "You need to change your name, American name. When people order, just say Greg. Because you can understand Greg. So just your American orders from now on should be Greg." I go, "Makes sense."
And then you just have to remember that's your order.
Exactly. That's my order. Order for Greg. Order for Greg. Oh, that's me. Sorry. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
that's funny. Oh,
Mm,
it's funny because I don't have to deal with it. I can imagine how frustrating it can be
hmm.
though at the same time too.
Yeah, yeah. And like even my one of my mobile orders at McDonald's. So are you doing a mobile order through McDonald's, and it gives you a code, like a 2 letters and 2 number code. And
Yeah.
you think that would be easy, not for an Australian in America when the code, I'll say it my way first, is ZR. And they're like, "What?" I go, "Oh, sorry, ZR." So yeah, ZR66 or something like that, what it was, but they couldn't understand it. I had to actually convert to Americanism just so they could understand me. So
Oh,
yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Oh gosh, things I would not imagine having to deal with when you are in a different country. That's
It's almost
crazy.
it's almost like when someone from New York or up that sort of the northeastern way comes all the way down south. They're hard to actually
The
understand each
accents
other
are
because
so
the
different.
accents are so
Yeah.
different. That's right. So chucking an Aussie in the mix as well, and then you got like mayhem. Just saying.
Does that cause you any difficulties sometimes when you're at the different geocaching events around the US, just people not always understanding what you're saying?
No, because what happens is even because people don't listen to what you actually say most of the time anyway. Let's be honest, Amy. They don't actually listen to the words that come out of your mouth. But what they hear is they hear something different. They hear the accent first. So
Mm-hmm.
that sparks the, "Oh, where you from?" Every time, "Where you from?" And then it's because I moved to New Jersey. And so I say New Jersey, and they don't believe me for some reason. I go, "Yeah, I'm from New Jersey." Or currently down here in Alabama and Louisiana at the moment as well. And I always say I'm a little bit further south than what you guys are. I'm more southern than you, so
Oh, good one. Nice.
yeah, yep, yep.
That's
It's a lot of
good.
fun.
Oh, that's great. I love it.
I've got you all flustered now too. All you can hear is my accent now. You're not even listening to what I'm saying. See, all you're doing is listening to the accent as well. So, mind you, I will say the accent, like it actually gives me benefits. Because they say, you're from Australia, and Americans love Australians very much.
Yes,
Thanks
they
so much to
do. We
Steve
love
Irwin.
the accent.
And Steve Irwin was a big advocate as well for Australia, which is it was really, really cool. And yeah, and you love the accent. So I get things like free drinks. I was with the other geocachers and we got a free upgrade on our rental car because I came from Australia. They're like, "Oh, you want an upgrade?" Like, "Yeah, we'll get an upgrade." So
Oh, nice.
yeah, so I actually get stuff, you see. So I'm happy with that.
Yes, we do love the Australian accents
Hmm.
and the British accents,
Yes,
which, when you
yes.
look at our history, is almost a bit ironic.
I know, right? I know. I do get confused sometimes. People say to me, "Oh, are you from Britain?" I say no. Or I get New Zealand, South Africa. I do get a mix. But I think one of my funniest sort of tales was when she said to me, "Are you British?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And I always say, "Oh, crikey, mate, do you think I'm British? Crikey, mate, should give it away."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, so you're from England then?" I'm like, "That's the same thing." So this is what happened. This is my life, So
Mm.
my life currently in the USA, it's very humorous. I love it. It's great. The banter between people. I can talk my way out of any situation. It's great. So yeah, it's good.
That's funny. The perks of an accent. That's funny.
Exactly. Exactly.
Uh, and like you say, the accent, we really do kind of like grab onto these accents because it's
Mhm.
different and it just brings a new element in a way.
Yes.
It kind of
Yeah.
helps catch the audience in a different
Hmm.
way.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a talking conversation, talking piece as well. Like, I mean, I've got a Treasures of Our Town podcast with Josh,
Yes.
and we just did a in-person recording only yesterday, before he left. And even then, there's still new words that come out of my mouth that he doesn't heard of before, he doesn't understand. But they're words that the rest of the world understands, but not America. Things like, so we rented these bicycles, and we did a power trail of geocaches on our bicycle, on the bicycles that we rented. So in Australia, we call them a push bike hire, because you hire and they're a push bike. So we don't say
Okay.
the word bicycle, we say push bike. And someone asked
Okay.
me before, why do you call it push bike for? You don't push. I go, well, you kind of push down with your legs.
Push the pedals.
You push
Yeah.
the pedals, and it's a push bike. It's not a motorized bike. And so yeah, Josh was amazed by that too. He's like, "What did you just say? A push bike hire? What a push bike hire?" So yeah, things like that still come up to this day. And as I said, like I've been with Josh several times in several different conversations. Hundreds of words, and yet he still finds new words almost every time we meet up. So yeah.
It's the adding the push bike higher really threw me
Mm,
off. Like push bike, it's like, oh, okay, I can
okay.
work through
Yep.
that. But
But it's
push
a
bike
hire.
higher, I'm like, what in
Yeah.
the world are you talking about?
Well, it's the same as the a rental car, and this happened a few podcasts ago when I said, oh, we got to the airport and we got a hire car. He's like, a what? I said, a hire car. He goes, you mean a rental? Okay, you hire the car. It's a hire car. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, hire car, and he tries to mimic my accent as well. And he says, like, what's the car higher than all the other vehicles around? He thinks it's like a physical aspect of the vehicle. I'm like, no.
That's funny.
Yeah, yeah. Like you hire a taxi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's such
There
a
you go.
small little difference, but it can cause so much confusion
So much here.
when
And
you have
here
no idea.
especially. Yeah, here
Yeah, here
especially.
especially, yeah, because we have to be different than the rest of the world for some reason. But
You did break away and now you're the leaders of the free world. You know, it's
well, I
true.
guess
It is true.
we'll take that and
It is true. So there you go.
So speaking of your podcast,
Hmm.
because the Treasures of Our Town is not your first podcast you've been a part of.
No, no. So obviously when I started my vlogging back in Australia, and I felt, and I was listening to a few American podcasts as well, like the GCPC geocaching podcast was around then, Podcaster was around then as well. So all my favorite sort of podcasts, and I thought to myself, these are always going live at the most, the hardest times for Australians. Either in the afternoon or early morning. It's always, you never know when it actually is. It's hard because people work in Australia, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and yet here's the GCPC going live at 12:30 in the afternoon, and you're like, oh, unless you're on your lunch break, you can't really call in, you can't listen, that sort of thing. So
Right.
I thought to myself, well, why not start a Down Under podcast to incorporate Australia and New Zealand? And so that's what I did. I started the Geocaching Down Under podcast back about, I think it was 3 years ago now. Ended up doing 2 seasons, etc., etc. Before holding off. I did get a co-host for a couple of times as well. Linda, her name was, and she was another geocacher that it was in Australia. But yeah, then it sort of fell by the wayside because I was moving to in the US anyway. I knew I was moving, so I kind of just stopped it from there. But always tried to sort of look out if anyone to take it over. And sure enough, up comes Terry Ann. Her name is, also known as Purple Cash Eater in Australia, and she said, like, here's an Australian term for you. She said, I'll give it a crack. That means I'll give it a go.
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
Oh, you know that? I'll give it a
Yeah.
crack.
I'll
So
take a
she's like,
crack at it, is what we say.
yeah,
Yeah.
take a crack. Well, I'll give it a crack. So she wants to have a go at it, and yeah, so she's taken over now. I help her out on the back end because obviously the time in which she goes live over there is like 3 a.m. Eastern here. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to be on the podcast per se, but I help her with the editing now, and we talk about different things that are popping up. It is a monthly podcast in Australia. And it's still available on all the podcast apps, etc. But it's predominantly a more of a live show per se because she interacts a lot with the live audience that are in the YouTube channel and also the Facebook as well.
Yes, she
So
does.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So she does a lot of that. She does a lot of giveaways now too because they've got a great sponsor on board as well in Di and oh, I can't think of his name now. I always get this mixed up. Wow, John and Di. How do I get mixed up, John? John and Di from geostuff.com.au, and so they're the major geocaching store in Australia. And so yeah, she's got sponsorship through them, and they give away prizes every single month. You know, giveaways. Prizes. She gives away calendars because she has a photo of the month competition as well, which I thought was really cool. And every photo of the month winner is then featured in that year's calendar for the Geocaching Down Under podcast. So that's pretty cool as well. So Terry Ann, big shout out to you, Purple Cache Eater. She's doing a fantastic job down there with everything as well. So yeah.
It is a great podcast. I've watched some of the recorded
Mm,
videos.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not usually up at 3 a.m.
No,
to catch
I
it
know.
live, but
I know. Although there are a couple of Americans out there that still do watch it live. And again, I'll shout out to this guy, Texas Dave. He's always up for some reason at that time of the morning. Maybe he's working. I don't know. But
that
yeah,
could be.
Houston, Texas Dave, his name is. And yeah, he's always watching it live as well. So he's pretty cool.
That's great. And then the current podcast that you have with Joshua, the
Mhm.
geocaching vlogger,
Yeah.
Treasures of Our Town. How did that
Mhm.
come into creation?
Oh, so you're ready for this? You've laughed so much already in this podcast. You wait. So back in January of last year, Josh and I were down in Florida, and we were at a Munzie Mega event down there, and we had a an Airbnb together, and it had a hot tub, Amy.
Okay.
So you got to visualize this. So here's the geocaching vlogger in his we call them speedos, they're the swimwear.
Okay.
I'm in my shorts, my swimming trunks, what do you want to call them? And we're there having Miller High Life in the hot tub at like 11:30 p.m. at night, almost midnight, talking about this stuff. A knock on the door comes over, and it was Rob from the president of Munzie. He popped in a visit as well. He jumps in the hot tub. So all three of us are in the hot tub, and we're talking about different things. We're talking about vlogging. We're talking about algorithms and TikTok and social media and all this sort of stuff. And up come a podcast. And Josh said to me, "I'd only ever do a podcast if it was more of a travel-based podcast, but based on geocaching and Munzie sort of gaming locations." But it needs to be a travel podcast. He said because there's too many geocaching podcasts out there and we can't get our own little niche. So it's got to be more of a travel podcast. I said, oh, really? He's like, yeah. That's the only time I'd do it. He goes, but I'm a bit busy at the moment. But if I was to do it, that's the only time I'd do it. Well, I took that on board as he planted the seed in my mind to get it started. So 2 weeks after we got back, he came home from work and there was a beautiful microphone on his front door with, Love Craig on it. And he's like, what is this? I go, we're starting this podcast. He's like, really? He said, did I agree to that? I said, I think you had one too many highlights, but yeah, you did agree to it. So that's how it started, Amy. Yeah, birthed in a hot tub in Florida, which is actually the name of our very first episode.
Nice. And
Yeah,
you guys
yeah.
actually did a live taping of it at Geo Woodstock last
Yes.
year.
Yes.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that's not. See, Josh and I are both avid when it comes to sound quality. We really want and we pride ourselves on the quality. Quality microphones, quality audio, because people listen more than they watch. And ours is only on podcasting apps. You can't watch us. I mean, who'd want to be honest? But you can't watch us. You know what I mean? And so it's about the quality of the audio, people driving in the car to and from work, and they're listening to the voices come through the airwaves. And so It was quality microphones, etc. But unfortunately, yeah, that's not actually a high quality audio because we couldn't link into their sound desk. So all it
Oh.
was basically, handheld microphones, up and around the whole auditorium, which then echoed everything and echoed the audience and echoed all that rather than directly from the handhelds that we had at the time. Yeah, we couldn't plug into the desk, unfortunately. So, but we had a
Oh.
great time. The audience loved it. We had a lot of audience participation as well. I'm going to say, there was probably about 80 or 90 people in the auditorium, watching us go live for the hour. We do an hour podcast. So yeah, we loved it. We loved it. I think we had a great time. And you never know. I'll just say this, Amy. You never know what mega you may go to, whereby you'll see Josh and I again in another Treasures of Our Town podcast episode. So there you go.
Ooh, teaser.
Things may be in the works.
So, Treasures of Our Town.
hmm
Uh, Tell us a little bit more about how you feature the geocaching and Munzie into a travel type podcast.
So what we try and do is we go out towards, actual locations. So our travels are guided by geocaching. So for instance, this weekend, perfect example. We reached out to the tourism board here at the Gulf Shores and Ocean Beach, Orange Beach. Oh, so Orange Beach and the Gulf Shores hit down here in Alabama. And we reached to them and told them, look, Josh has got a following with his videos. We got TikTok, we do reels, and we've got a podcast as well, in which we want to do a full episode of the podcast about your area. You know, how can we make this happen? How can we come down there and do it? They come back to us with a bit of an offer sort of thing, and then our travels are guided by that. So because of the Bamarama, the mega event, that's the reason why we wanted to go down there as well. So we feature the whole area, but then feature little pockets of geocaching or Munzie play here and there. So that's the way it is. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Amy. I mean, I had a great time at Bamarama, don't get me wrong, but the highlight for me had nothing to do with a cache or Munzie or anything. They've got this adventure park with go-karts, and not one, two, three, or four tracks. There were 5 tracks of go-karts, ranging from like a kid's track and a family track all the way up to experienced and a skid pan track as well. So,
Oh, wow.
Josh, myself, and our good friend Tim, Minnesota boy, we took again like a time out of geocaching. It took us an hour. We didn't find a cache, we didn't find a Munzie, but instead we went through that town area, and that town has got this tracks and again just a fun adventure park, that sort of thing. So that's what we do. We feature everything about it.
And that's really great because so many people geocaching have family members that aren't necessarily
hmm
into geocaching. So
Exactly.
being able to find these little cache or Munzie
hmm
treasures and highlight all the fun family activities or, your
Exactly.
friends or whoever can do, it's a really great mesh of both those worlds.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And we found that in Alabama, Bamarama did a great job. Big shout out to San Marcos and all the team that's around him as well. They did a great job. Fantastic. Big numbers were published, in terms of how many caches you could actually physically find. Yeah, huge. Even to the point where you could find, I think, 13 types in a day.
Oh,
That sort of
wow.
thing. So they really did highlight the whole area, but they utilized different businesses. And so they'd put like a really cool gadget birdhouse out the front of a business or even inside a business at one place. So Josh and I and Tim, we go into inside this one business because apparently this is a pretty cool gadget cache. And it was a very cool gadget cache. But as we walked in the door, Josh heard the sounds. Ding, 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 ding. It was a pinball parlor, like old school
Oh,
pinball
wow.
parlor. Josh, with his ADHD, his neck spun around and he was off inside the pinball parlor. I mean, and again, we spent an hour there. It was $10, Amy, for an hour
That's
of free
it?
pinball. That's it.
Oh my
That's it.
gosh. That's
Yes,
old school price.
exactly. And this is what we say. And that's the reason why our name is the Treasures of Our Town. Because people love their town, they're proud of their towns, they've got little treasures in little pockets. And in most cases, we know with geocaches, they take you to the best places in the person's town because they place them there for that reason. They want the favorite points because it's a beautiful lookout, it's a beautiful view, or it's a pretty cool, old school arcade game that $10 for an hour or $25 for the entire day. Just saying. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So that's the reason why we come up with treasures of our town as well. That's why the name is what it is.
That's pretty
Exactly.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've been mentioning Muncie some. So if there's some
hmm
people that aren't familiar with it, can you
I
tell us a
know.
bit more about what that's about?
Okay. Well, I started Munzie going back, 5 or 6 years ago. And then, like a lot of people, a lot of geocachers, Amy, they looked and went, oh, this is just scanning QR codes at geocache locations. Really, that's all it was to begin with. So I gave it away. And then 2 years ago, I had bad health issues in terms of mental health issues, and I didn't want to get out, didn't want to do anything. And I found all the caches around my town. I didn't want to do anything. I looked up Munzie, and there was Munzies everywhere, physicals and virtuals. Now, the difference is a physical Munzie is just that, a QR code sticker somewhere, right? But a virtual Munzie, you can cap anywhere when you're in the radius, which is normally around 300 foot. They do vary depending on the Munzie in which it is.
Okay.
So, geocaching? Pokemon Go. Everyone knows Pokemon Go as well.
Yeah.
If you put those two together as like, an item and they have a child, that child is named Munzie. Just saying. That's
Okay.
that's exactly what it is. So it's really points based. It's very heavily in terms of the competition, the different challenges that you can do every single day with Munzie. And in some cases they obviously encourage people to get out walking because the munchies themselves have got a smaller radius, so they can be, 100 feet apart. They don't have to be 527 foot apart like geocaches. So you can do
Okay.
more munchies along a walking trail every single day. So it is about walking. It is about getting out there, exercise, but at the same time, with all these virtuals that can be placed anywhere around the world at any time. So at the moment, I'm in Louisiana. I can post one right now in Australia if I want. I can post it in
Oh,
New
wow.
Jersey. I can post it right on your house if I wanted to, Amy, from here. So, and you do that for your friends so they can collect either points that they need or they can collect items that they need as well. So it really is a different game now compared to what it used to be, but it is very much points based, points heavy. But then again, in saying that too, the artwork on this stuff, on these what they call bouncers that are going around the map all the time, and you can cap a bouncer, and one's called like a puffle, for instance, and it is cute as heck. You know what I mean? Like it is really super cute, these things. And then if you grab one of those, and then you can actually level up and grab another one, a level 2 one, or level 3 one, for instance, that sort of thing. And so they
Okay.
all evolve, things evolve in Munzie, it's amazing. So it's not just the points, it's also the artwork as well, definitely. Yeah.
And then there's actual Muncie events like we have geocaching events too, right?
There certainly is Munzie events themselves, and actually, I just hosted one on Friday in Alabama itself. It wasn't anywhere near the geocaching events, and even though, ready for this, San Marcos, the organizer of Bamarama, he attended the Munzie event. Just saying.
Oh,
See, so there you
nice.
go. There's more people out there, what we call coexisting, like myself, like Joshua. We coexist with both, and they coexist even with Pokemon Go or other location-based games because there's others out there as well. So, but yeah, Munzie for me at the moment, as I said, it's just really, I'm just really addicted to it in terms of every day I play, every day I can play. Even if I was sick in bed. This is the other thing with Munzie. If you set up your little nest at home, and you can set up a nest whereby you can actually cap the same Munzie every single day, once a day. And the reason why you do that is because these bouncers come on this little Munzie itself, and you can collect the bouncers. The bouncers are owned by other players. You get points for like capping them, and they get points because you cap them. You see how it's all points based?
Okay. Yeah.
So there's an incentive to play as a finder, and there's a big incentive to play as a hider as well. So that's the way it works. Yeah.
Okay. Are
Mm.
there like little, like in geocaching, we sometimes have like I call them the mini games
hmm
where you do so many geocaches and you get a special souvenir or something like that. Like when we had memory lane and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Do they have things like that in Muncie?
You would not believe. You think geocaching has got these digital badges and they're pretty cool. You would not believe the amount of digital badges you can actually obtain through Munzie gameplay as well. So, they do, and they innovate all the time, Munzie. Like they're always bringing out new things, new promotions, new things are coming out, new artworks coming out, new bounces are coming out, which then equate to the new badges as well. So, I mean, at the moment, I host and run the what we call the Munzie Monthly Moments, which basically we shout out to all Munzie players and say, do a short, a TikTok, or a reel, and your challenge is this month is to say find a dragon Munzie and video yourself doing that, post it on, and then put it through the app itself. The video. I have a look at all the videos. So does Rob, and so does Sam. We have a look all through the videos, and we pick normally one or two winners, and then we draw out another three or four winners, depending on how many enter for that month, and they get prizes. You see, and the prizes they get is more digital items that they can put back into the game. But
Okay.
the best thing is, and this is where it relates to the badges, is that everyone who enters gets a special badge for that month. And it's like a movie clapper, one of those movie clappers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like a big movie clapper and it's got the month and what it's for. So yeah, that's really cool. So yeah,
That's
there's lots and
cool.
lots of badges in Munzie. A lot more than actually the geocaching, to be honest with you, but shh, don't tell them. Those people who actually came to my event, for instance, on Friday, they got a one-off only badge, like a very special badge for coming to my event. Now, I was one of 10 people at the event, so there's only 10 people in the world from now on ever that will have that Munzie badge. See,
Oh, wow.
pretty cool, pretty
That
cool.
is
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. So
So
you can
did
actually host events and have your own badge for it too.
so do they I'm guessing they hire different artists that helps with all this artwork, or do some of it gets submitted by players?
Yeah, that's a good question. But there is one artist that they have full time, and they work with him all the time. So he actually works full time for Munzie and does all the artwork for all Munzie stuff as well. He also does, because Munzie's owned by a company called Freeze Tag, and they have other location games as well, like Wallaby is another one. And so he's the artist for all of Freeze Tag. But
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
which is inclusive of Munzie as well. So yeah, he's a very busy guy.
Sounds like it.
Yep, yep. He does a great job.
So back to geocaching.
Yep, yep, yep. That's
As fun.
Munzie.
I'm
That's
gonna be
Munzie.
checking
Yep,
out
yep, yep.
Munzie, I think. But back
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
checked it out once several years ago, and
Hmm.
it was just kind of like scanning the QR codes, and I didn't quite
Yeah, yeah.
get
No,
it
it's
at
not.
that point. But it
It's
sounds so different
It
now.
is, it is. And a shout out as well. I do have full tutorials on my YouTube channel. The Aussie Geocacher Seemyshell has the YouTube tutorials on there for beginners. And there's like I think there's 10 episodes on there. Sorry, 8 episodes on there from start to finish, how to cap, how to deploy, what they are, what to do, that sort of thing as well. And there's a special code on the screen as well. So if you're brand new to Munzie, cap that code and you get extra points. There you go. See, extra points for
Nice.
everything. Extra points for everything.
So in geocaching,
Hmm.
what is your favorite type of geocache to go find?
Oh, I saw this. You put the question. You gave me the questions before. I mean, I thought to myself, this is a hard one. Well, I'll be
It
honest with
is.
you now, it has evolved. My love of geocaching has evolved and changed over time. So, originally it was things like I actually enjoyed, believe it or not, you ready for this? It's probably the only person you've ever heard this say this, but I enjoyed multis, like I know, right? Rare, rare. Like I love my actual number one would be a webcam, but they are so rare these
They
days,
are.
and they're hard to find each time. So my love, though, has actually turned a little bit towards adventure labs, believe it or not. And I enjoy the easier find, the quicker find, but I enjoy the adventure labs that take me to great locations, and that the adventure lab teaches me something. I learn something about the location. It's location specific in regards to the question,
Hmm.
not like, oh, have a look at the sewer plate on the ground and what's the name of the sewer plate. I don't
Right.
like those ones, Abe. I'll be honest with you. Don't put that in there, people. If you've got a pretty cool adventure lab that you're taking people to certain places, make sure it's the question is about that place or that area. You could even ask a question and say in brackets, by the way, the answer is in the description. That's always good too, because you're teaching them something, and it makes
Yeah,
them read the description too, you see.
it
And so,
does.
yeah, yeah. And remember, people, they're geofenced. So you have to be at the location in order to answer the question anyway. You're not going to have random people answer these questions from all over the world, just saying. But anyway, that's my little gripe. But yeah, Adventure Labs for me, Amy, I'm telling you now, I think they're my new love, my new favorite type. Yeah, yeah.
I do like a good adventure lab, especially
Yes.
like you said, one that it's done well about the location and not just like, oh, here's the statue. Now, how many light posts do you see from where you're standing?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Although, and even to the point where you're talking about the multiple choice. Multiple choice is good if your question is a little bit convoluted, then use a multiple choice system. That's fine. But don't use a multiple choice and it's not the question is about the area, you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
say that you know the ones I'm talking about. I did don't get me wrong. I still do them, Amy. I'm not that much of a, I did the I Love New Jersey or I Love NJ GeoArt in New Jersey itself, and I got 115 finds in the space of 15 minutes. Because you sit there in the parking lot, you don't even move. They're that geofence wide, and just
Oh,
keep
wow.
press, 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 and they've got nothing to do with the location. Literally, it's just about the numbers. I mean, as I said, I'm complaining about them, kind of, because I still did do them, and I did appreciate the numbers, but
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
People are going to be listening to this, Amy, and they go, "Oh, what's he talking about? He did them at least. Why complain about for him if he did them for So I put it out there. I say, look, I'm being honest. I'm being 100% honest with people. You can't hold that against me.
Yeah, that's true. Well, some people might, but
Well, if you hold it against me, at least hold it in the right spot. Anyway, let's
there you
move
go.
on. You got red cheeks all looking flustered, eh?
I'm always red. Like I stood outside in the sun. I am
Oh,
so pale. Like I am so
oh.
pale. Like 5 minutes in the sun, I come inside, my face is red, and then I do these zooms. It's like no matter what lighting I have
No.
on me, I look red.
See, I thought it
And
was
it's
the
just like,
accent that was
ugh.
getting you all flustered, but no, it's not the accent
Well,
then.
that's
Jeez.
not helping the situation.
There you go. Now the honesty's coming out. See, I told you. Oh, she says, it's the sun. She says, it's the
Yeah, good
sun.
thing my husband doesn't listen, right?
Or my wife, so we're good.
Well, there you go. We're safe on that one.
Moving on. What's the next one you
Moving
got for me?
on.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
What is the most memorable geocache you've ever found?
Well, this one here, I've actually said this in the past, and this is going back years and years because I started geocaching in 2014. So 9 years ago now, I started. And this was within my first year of actually caching. It was and to this day, it's still my favorite. But and believe it or not, guess what? Oh, it's a multi. Yep, it's a multi. But it's for me, it's not everyone's favorite. It was my favorite because of what I was going through at the time. As I said before, I was going through a hard time with marriage breakdown, not seeing my kids all the time, etc. as well. So I just dropped off my kids back to their mother, and things didn't go well when it comes to the swapping over, etc. So I wasn't in a really good place mentally, and I was driving back home, and I had a bit of a drive. I had an hour's drive to get home, and I thought to myself, what better way to get my headspace back in the right place than trying to find a cache, right? As we
Okay.
all know, that's to me mental health, geocaching, and Munsey itself. But mental health, it's affected me in so many different ways throughout the years. I suffer with bad PTSD as well, and so this has got me focused on one thing, and I don't think about the things I have no control over, for instance. Anyway, this one was a multi, and it was a hard multi. It was like a terrain like 4 multi. And I was dressed in shorts and a shirt, and I thought, well, I don't care. I'm just going to do it anyway. And this multi, I parked at this rest stop area, and it had me going through the Australian bush area, through mud, through dirt, through trees, through sewer canals.
Oh,
The
wow.
whole lot. Oh yeah, it was a definitely a terrain 4 sort of multi. But the way it was done, and me even traipsing through the mud, knee deep mud, and it was like bright orange mud, you know. Yeah, I fell over at one point in time, got mud up all up my side and my face, and at first I was like kind of angry, like oh, and then I'm like, hang on, who am I angry at? I fell over. It's my own fault. I can't be angry at the CO. This is kind of good, this one. I then took a photo of the mud on my face and everything as well. And I actually stood there laughing at myself, you know? And then, of course, there's like a waterfall there as well. So that I stood under the waterfall. And as I washed these, by then dried off mud off my face, I kind of felt all my worries sort of were lifting off my shoulders and were literally, the mud was draining away all that negative energy that I'd been building up for I don't know how long. And by the end of it, it was a nice, cool ammo can find. The log was dry, which is good.
It's always a plus.
Always a plus. And so, yeah, I remember signing that logbook and I just thought to myself, this is what it's about. This to me is geocaching. This is, it's taken me from a negative into a big, big positive. And I walked out of there smiling from ear to ear, and I was happy for weeks on end after that. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things. So yeah, I think that there again, it's not the cache itself; it's the experience of it that to this day stays with me. And like this is 9 years, 8, 9 years ago, Amy, and I still remember it to this day, like it was yesterday. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So a bit deep for you, but that's the one it is. So
Well, and your GIF entry from the last geocaching film
Mm,
festival reflected on geocaching and mental health as
yeah,
well.
yeah. Well, that is a true story. That's how I basically got into geocaching to a certain degree. As I was going through a lot with my marriage breakdown, I was suffering from my first bout of PTSD with work. I'm an ex-police officer, and so I was going through a lot of things that way. And yeah, I kind of literally stumbled across. Again, maybe it's a police instincts. These people, these weird people looking suspicious in the woods. What are they doing looking under that tree? Like, are they harassing the wildlife? That's what I thought. And so the GIF entry itself, because I relapsed 2 years ago, and hence the reason why I've stopped my videos, I've stopped a lot of things, and so I relapsed in, and then it was through my therapist guided me and said, look, you need to, and he knew that I was a geocacher, and I slowed down my geocaching, slowed down everything. He knew I was a geocacher. He said, get outside, get some friends. I go, I don't really want to. And he said, well, what else did you used to do? And I told him about my photography and videography and my enjoyment out of doing that. And I told him then how proud I was about my other GIF entries, that were all the funny ones, the 4 other ones that I've done in the past as well before this one. And he said, but Craig, he says, yeah, funny, it's funny, but why don't you just do a relatable one? What are you going through now? And I told him, like, he knew what I was going through. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you told me how you started geocaching. Why don't you just do a video about that? And I went, but it's not funny. He goes, does it have to be? And I thought to myself, wow. And then I actually rang Josh. Josh is a great mate of mine. And I spoke to him about it too. And I said, what do you think of this idea? Anyway, he was so, so supportive. He's like, absolutely. He goes, that's rich. It's quality. And so it took me a long time to do it, Amy. I tell you now, to get up the courage to do things. I mean, and here's my humor coming back now, because I wash things over with a bit of humor. I'm going to say it took me 2 days of full videoing just for that one 10-second shower scene that you saw. People listening to this and go, what, he's talking about a shower scene? Like, what the hell? It's supposed to be a geocaching video. He's talking about a shower scene. But yeah, it took me 2 full days to get that right, how I wanted it, and after the first day, I didn't like it, and I almost had enough. I almost threw it all away. And that happened a couple of times. And then I spoke to some good friends of mine that are both geocachers, Eric and his wife as well, um, that are both geocachers, and they helped me out. So they were in the video with me for that part as well. So yeah, so they sort of played the random, suspicious geocaches that I saw that day when they were looking for harassing the wildlife.
Well, and I don't know what it's like in Australia,
Hmm.
but in the US, mental health has been such a stigma until recently, where people
Yeah,
are pushing for it. So it's
yeah,
great that you threw that message out there.
yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, for me personally, I had nothing. I didn't. I could not care less. Finalist or winner or anything. I had that didn't even go through my mind. I'll tell you now. Making that video for me improved my mental health tenfold. Absolutely tenfold. And then to see it on the screen, and I went to a geocaching event. Sorry, I'm a little bit. I get a little bit sort of see. I still get a little bit tedious here and there. I went to a good, beautiful screening of the GIF events too in North New Jersey, and Gio Elmo, his name is. He's actually a video guy as well. He hosts the video GIF events up there in an old school cinema. And so here it is, beautiful old chairs. We're all sitting back, and he gets a really good turnout. I'm talking, 80 plus people turn out to these GIF events now, and well, I spoke to him separately, privately, and he congratulated me for being in the final, and vice versa. And it just so happened to be his was directly after mine, and it was roughly the middle of the time of the whole GIF film reel. I said to him, I said, mate, I'll be honest with you. I said, I think you should have an interval, like an intermission after mine, so people need to reset. Because mine's not funny. Some people may be upset. Some people it may touch nerves, and so he did. He put a 15-minute interval at that time, and it was good because people reset themselves then so they could laugh at his one and really appreciate his, and they're not looking through tears or whatever.
Yeah.
But my favorite moment of all was after the whole event itself. One of these ladies come up to me, and she's an elderly lady, and she was in tears already, and she just said thank you. And I hugged her and I said, you're welcome. That's fine. I said, it was just my life. And she said 8 months ago she lost her husband, and no one knew. And
Oh.
she stopped geocaching altogether, stopped altogether, and no one knew. And she said, "This is my first geocache find in 9 months.
Oh,
Was this
wow.
event?" Yeah. And she said, "I don't know why I came. I live around the corner. I don't know why I came. I saw it pop up on my notification. I thought I'll just go to it because I feel like I need a laugh." That's what she said. And then and as she's talking to me with these tears, these other people, other geocachers come up to her and said, "Oh my goodness, where have you been? We've missed you so much, this, that, the other." She's turned to them and told them, like, her husband had passed, and they were all so supportive, etc. And then one turned around to her and said, "What are you doing tomorrow? It's Sunday. What are you doing tomorrow?" She's like, Nothing." She goes, "Well, you are now." And she picked her up, 9:30 in the morning. She picked her up. They went and had breakfast together, went and had lunch. And it wasn't just her and this other woman. No, three other people joined them, and they made a full geocaching day out of it. Got her out of the house, got her in amongst the group of people again, amongst people who, she loves the joy of geocaching and the hobby of geocaching, and really got her back into the game, hopefully as well, and got her the friendships back that she'd sort of pushed away because of her loss. So to
Wow.
me, that one story, just that one story alone, was worth all my heartache, my pain that I went through to actually create the video itself. Yeah. So just that was it.
Wow.
I was like, that's my trophy. That's my trophy. So yeah.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, as you said, there are a lot more people out there that do suffer in different ways, absolutely different ways. I mean, I was at an event, as I said, the Bamrama event. Another lady come up to me too, and she said, 6 years ago she lost her child, her and her
Oh,
husband. And yeah, I know, I can't even imagine. And same thing with them. They kind of stopped, and then it was one time where I think she found one by accident just because she was out by herself or something else. And she found one by accident. And then her husband rang her and said, "What are you doing? Where are you going? Whatever." She's like, "I'm doing a geocache." She's like, "Really? You haven't done it in years?" "Oh, since we lost our daughter and whatever." And she's like, "Well," so now they do it. Now they back into it. They came back to the mega event. They're from Minnesota. Those people are from Minnesota. And then she's come up to me and thanked me for the video. That's things like that really, it is a thing, and everyone's in different ways for different reasons, whether it be work related, whether it be personal related. Mental health is a real thing, and it really does need to be acknowledged and say, look, you're not the only one suffering. If you are suffering from it, there are other people exactly in your shoes to different variances and degrees. So get back into the geocaching community, the community that you love and will support you 100%. This is the only community, Amy, I'm telling you now, out of all the sporting events and other hobbies in the, you can't get this love and appreciation from other people if you play chess, for instance, or if you're a football player or you're a basketball player. You do get love and appreciation, but not like you do as a geocacher. Just saying. So yeah, there you go.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
true.
think it was Derek from Behind the Cache. Uh I talked to him once and he said it's the only activity y- you could go with five strangers out into the middle of the desert and not be worried about getting murdered.
No, exactly right. 100%. And you know what? Do it with a smile on your face and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Really do enjoy yourself. So yeah, you surround yourself with those like-minded people, and you will live a happy and soulful life. You really will. So there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Is there a certain place that you have not yet geocached that you hope to make it to someday?
Oh, see, I saw this question as well, and I thought to myself, well, there is, and it's going to be Germany. Because of
Germany.
course I watch Josh's videos and I've edited all his Germany ones in the past, the few ones that he did in the last group session that he was over there, and I got FOMO, Amy. I really did. Like, I was so jealous watching those videos. I thought to myself, I just wish I were there finding those really cool caches. So a shout out to Daniel Flieger and his company as well, Cache Horizon. They're the ones that put out there so many cool geocaches themselves for people to find in all different ways, in different aspects, different businesses, that sort of thing as well, which is really awesome. And yeah, it's cool that he allows someone like Josh and other people to say, you know what, share this amongst the world, share my
Yeah.
finds amongst the world, because he gives inspiration to others. And again, Bamarama, because I say it because it was only last weekend. Bamarama had all these bird boxes everywhere, and a few of them had different tips and tricks, like I've seen on Josh's videos. Now, if people think, "Oh, I don't watch that; it's a spoiler," rah, 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 I'm letting you know, Amy. There was several geocaches out there that Josh has featured exactly the same on his videos. Guess what? He couldn't work them out this weekend. I'm like, hang on.
Really?
I'm like, hang on, didn't you have a video? He goes, oh, that's right, I did too. So they're not spoilers, people. They're inspiration. So take them for
That's
that more than
funny.
spoilers. Yeah, yeah. There's a few he was pushing and plodding along them, and that was genuine. Like, he was actually going through the different containers. Like, what the hell do I do for this one? How do I get this one open? His tip was always to look at the hinges first to make sure it's a real hinge, and if it's actually going to hinge something, or
Mm,
is that a red herring? So that's a good tip. There you go.
that
That's a
is a
good tip.
good tip.
Yeah, check the hinges first to make sure that if they're real hinges, you know where the door needs to be opened. But otherwise, if they're not real hinges, what are they doing there? Nothing. So there you
That's a
go.
very good
Yeah,
tip.
yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, as I said, he was having struggling with a couple of them. Yeah, and obviously I've seen his videos as well, and I've got a bit more of a memory because I don't see his videos. Sometimes when I edit them, I see them several times, while I'm editing,
Yeah.
and so I see that. But I take note as well in terms of that's a pretty cool container, that's a pretty cool hide, and they've mimicked a couple of them here in Alabama, and they're really awesome, really really awesome. So yeah.
So when I gotta ask, like, you're
Mm-hmm.
editing video, and I know
Mm-hmm.
that can get really insane.
Yes.
How much time, when you're looking at, let's say, a 5-minute video, like, what's your average editing time? Like, how
All
many
right.
hours does it start at? And then
Okay.
you zoom
This
down to.
this is it's a very good question, and I know where it's coming from. So Josh, say for instance, Josh, because it's easier with me with Josh now because he knows what I like to edit, so he shoots for me, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So he may shoot, I'm going to say roughly, about 45 minutes, 45 minutes, 48 minutes of footage. I will cut that down to 10 minutes video, and
Wow.
that will take me around 10 hours to do in total. So, yeah. Yeah. So that's what it is. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. Yeah. So they're roughly his 10-minute videos, it's normally 1 minute, an hour per minute, roughly, is the average. I think so. Yeah.
That's
So about
wild.
10
I
hours.
mean
Yeah.
I mean, they're great. The editing is
Thank
amazing.
you.
Like, they always look so good. It's like,
Yeah.
how do
Yeah.
you get it to look like that? Well, now I know. You gotta spend a day doing it, and
Yeah, it's a day of your time. It's also obviously my editing skills have built up over time, and my software that I do have now as well. So back in 2020, when everything hit and I was back in Australia, I was literally held at home for 30 days in Australia, and I thought, I don't live with anyone. I was like, what am I going to do with myself? So that's when I created the geocaching for beginners tutorials on YouTube. Was back in 2020, and that's when I upgraded my software system as well from iMovie to Final Cut Pro, which is like $600. Like, it's
oof,
it's it's a yeah, it's a hit.
that's a big commitment.
And and it's a commitment. But then I thought to myself, I'm not going to waste this money, and so then
Yeah.
I sought self-taught myself. I say things really weird sometimes. Anyway,
Well, you are Australian, so.
it's true, true. And I can't even say that's an Australian thing. No, that's just me being, a dumb non-blonde. Um, I taught myself the actual aspect of the software program, and I'm always an advocate of anything you do. If you're self-taught, you do it because you love it. If
Yeah.
you love it, you're going to do it better than what you are sitting in a school classroom, etc. So, yeah. So I taught myself the whole editing software. To this day now, I've been using it for obviously 3 years, and I haven't even scratched the surface of what this software can do. But I do enough to where I'm happy with it for the time being. So yeah, I do it that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's a lot of wow.
It's a little bit of work.
It's just a smidge of work. It's just a little commitment to make it
But,
happen.
but Amy, if you love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life.
Hey, that's what they say.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what they say.
That's right. That's right. I mean, you love podcasting, so this isn't work for you, is it? No. You're
No,
getting to
it's a labor of love. It's just finding the
exactly
time to
right.
make it happen.
I know, right? I do
Yeah.
apologize about the mix up. But I'm here now, so it's all good. I know.
It's all good. It's all good. And no, you know what? Actually, you having to reschedule worked out really well because I had
Oh,
some
did?
family stuff come up, and so
Oh,
I
okay.
probably would have had to cancel on you last minute.
Oh, that makes me feel much better.
So it
Thank you.
actually worked out really well.
Either that or you're just saying that to make me feel better. One of the two. You're
No,
one of those
I
actual
wish I
nice
was. Let me
Americans.
tell you, it's been a crazy 2 weeks, but
Yep,
it
yep.
actually I was kind of relieved, like, oh, I'm really glad we rescheduled this because now I'm
Hmm.
not gonna have to worry about that at this
Oh,
moment. So
good, good, good.
yes.
Nice.
Is there anything else about geocaching, Munzie, video editing, anything else you want to share with us?
All I'm going to say is people need, if you're a geocacher, Munzie player, location-based gameplay, you need to get out there amongst friends. So attend events, attend Munzie events, attend, geocaching events, mega events, that sort of thing. I mean, Geo Woodstock's coming up very soon, and it's at the foothills, like of the footsteps of the Grand Canyon. If there's any reason to attend a Munzie, a geocaching mega event, it's Geo Woodstock this year. I'm a big advocate for Geo Woodstock, etc. I mean, I think they're about 1,800 Willetons away from the G word, just saying.
Oh,
Yes, yeah. So it would be really cool. And I spoke to Joshua Fu Manju, Joshua. I spoke to him at this weekend as well. He was at Bamarama, and so we had a chat there as well, which is really awesome. And yeah, and even to the point where I think he was on the podcast in the Northwest, Geocaching in the Northwest podcast recently. And because of his podcast and what he said about that, now Josh, myself, and Minnesota Boy, we're all actually taking the train ride down into the Grand Canyon on the dome car. Apparently, there's a dome car
oh,
where you go down with the glass roof, of this train. And yeah, so we've booked all that now. So we're doing that. But apparently, you do it going down, but coming back up, you book just the coach cheapest one you can because you'll probably be asleep on the way home, on the way back. So
oh.
that's what the rule. So that's what we did. We booked it all, so it's all ready to go. So yes, Geo Woodstock, myself, Joshua will be there, and a few others, quite a few others, are going to be there as well. So yeah, make plans for that. Are you going to attend? Are you going to get to that one, Amy?
I'm not going to be able to make it to that one.
Oh
I
no.
know. I
I
know.
know. But yeah,
I
that's all I'm
know.
going to say to end it up. And that is get out there, get outside, have fun with whatever you do, with whatever people you can have fun with, because that's what life's about. So yeah.
If somebody is maybe a little bit hesitant about attending a geocache event because,
Mm-hmm.
they're new to it and don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily know anybody, what advice do you have for them?
Just do it. And I've seen people, and I've actually seen. So when I was in Australia, I was like in year two, I think I was, in my geocaching adventures, and yeah, I was at a geocaching event. It was in a local park. There was only a few of us around. I think it was like 6 or 7 of us there, not too many. and there was one lady just sitting in a car watching, and everyone's like, "Is that a muggle? Like, what's going on there?" And so I sort of, I traipse up to the car sort of thing, and she's like, opens down the window, she's like, "Is that the geocaching event?" Like, really timid. I'm like, "Yes, it is." I said, "You knew?" Like, and you knew? She says, "Yeah." I go, "Oh, what's your geocaching name?" And so she told me a geocaching name. I went, "Oh, you're that person because you found my cache here, 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 here." And I was excited, and she was excited because I knew her name. She kind of felt like I knew her already now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you've never been to a geocaching Munsey event, people know your name because they see logs. And a
Right.
lot of newbies don't know that. They don't realize that the hiders out there read the logbooks, and I mean, I'll be honest, my very first geocaching event I went to, they said, "Oh, hi, g'day, how you going?" I said, "Oh, good." They go, "What's your geocaching name?" I go, "Seemyshell." And they go, "Oh, we thought you were a lady." Apparently, my logs were more feminine than others, but no, it was
That's
actually the name,
great.
See My Shell, because I thought my name was Michelle with my kids. And
Yeah.
see, in the logs, I was saying I was, traveling with my kids and, on the bikes with the kids. So, yeah, they thought I was a lady. So, and here I am now. I'm, promoting mega events and giga events and whatever else as well. So get out there, get to an event. You will not be disappointed in it. So yeah, just saying.
Sounds good.
Hmm.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today and
Thanks for having me, Amy.
talking to us about all this stuff. It's been so much fun.
Hmm.
And I don't think I did not know any of that about Munzie, so I'm definitely gonna be checking out to see how that's changed because it sounds like it's fun, so
It is, and definitely jump on my channel and make sure you scan that code as well because you get free points for that one. So yeah, when you
absolutely.
do, yeah, yeah, yeah. Download the app now. It's easy, relatively. It's very easy to play, and it's free as well for beginners too. So it's the same as geocaching. $30 a year if you want to become premium, but you don't have to be ever. So, but if you are premium, you get so much extra perks. Just
You've been listening to Geocache Adventures with me, Shadow Dragon 1. If you'd like to get in touch, you can reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, or go to geocacheadventures.org and you can find the information on the contact page. Theme music is by The Travel Bugs. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have you heard of FTF Magazine? It's the magazine for geocachers. It is full of articles and pictures all submitted by geocachers just like you. I'm a subscriber myself, and I love it. My favorite part is the little snippets on the edges of the articles on all the different pages. Those are my favorites. Just go to ftfgeo.com to check them out and tell them Shadow Dragon 1 sent you.